What frequency are you tuned to? This is such an important question, you guys. We're going to talk about that in today's episode. How do you know which version of you are tuned into? How do you know if you're not tuned into someone else's version, someone else's way of doing life? This is a really important topic. And it's a really good one because we are spiritual leaders. You're a spiritual powerhouse. You're a spiritual baddie. You've got a lot of love to give. How you express that love, how you express your intentionality, your vision, your dreams, your guidance to other people needs to flow through the channel of your authenticity, your diamond frequency. Last episode, I talked all about diamond frequency, what really brought it on, what the intention is behind it, and how it can serve you as a spiritual powerhouse. But now we're going to talk about your responsibility, actually. Beyond whether you ever do work with me inside of diamond frequency, this episode is about getting you to really check in on yourself. Hold yourself accountable for which version of you're being in relationship to your old self, to the current self, to your future self. Which frequency are you tuning into in terms of your parents? Are you making decisions in your precious life based on the authority of external people? So we're going to talk about that. We're going to peel that back because what I see consistently inside of any mastermind groups that I hold one-on-one coaching, and I don't care if you're a millionaire or you're broke, I've coached both and everywhere in between. Okay. And one thing that consistently comes up in the women that I speak with is there is consistent need to have validation and validation from the external world, from people, from ideas, from money showing up, from people saying yes to your programs, from the number of students in your yoga class. Like there is this addiction we almost have to seeing a certain number or a certain external yes. You're good enough. You're pretty enough. You're sexy enough. You're talented enough. You're wealthy enough. Yes, we're voting you in to the game. That is burnout city. That is a path that leads to really detrimental effects in women's psyche and empowerment, and no empowerment. It leads to disempowerment. That is what happens from a disempowered place. That's the result of. But you weren't always disempowered. You were very empowered at one point in your life. We may have to go really far back for some of you, and that's okay. But there was a place where you were completely whole, completely integrated, completely besotted by yourself in the world. And diamond frequency is about getting back there, but with all the wisdom that your current adult life has given you. When you are bringing forward an idea into the world, let's talk about why this work is important. Let's talk about why knowing which frequency you're tuned into is important. So I like to think about diamond frequency, the word frequency, as literally, I feel like an old transistor radio or the radio on your car stereo, where you're tuning the FM channels. And in between there's static, right? And then you'll hit a channel and it'll be like, okay, cool, but I don't like that song. Or, okay, here comes a channel. It's coming in clear, radio station, but it's a commercial. Okay, I don't want to be sold to right now. Okay, here's a song. Ooh, this is my jam, right? And you like turn it up. And you start like dancing. If you're like me, you dance in the car. You pull out all your moves. You just fuck it up, fuck it up, fuck it up, fuck it up. And you just keep going and going and going, and you're having a fucking ball in your car, right? It's party time in your vehicle. If you don't drive like that, let me know. I really find it interesting when I meet other people who don't rock out to music. There was one yoga student, I'm not going to mention her name here, but she's awesome. I love her. And she's like, I drive in complete silence always. I was like, are you a psycho? I literally said that to her. We knew each other very well through yoga and outside of yoga, but she was died laughing. She's like, I know, I don't know what it is. I just don't like music inside a car. I'm like, wow, I am so the opposite. You can't have a conversation with me in the car because I'm just like, what about this song? Do you like this song? That's why Brandon and I travel so well together. We do talk, but we love our music. So anyway, going back to the analogy of the car radio and the frequency, that is how I visualize what we're doing, the work we're doing inside of Diamond Frequency, the upcoming 6-month curriculum, the upcoming 6-month coaching container is us dialing you in to, maybe you've been on this FM channel for a while and it's really heavy with your parents. It's really heavy with that expectations and the dogma that comes with being raised by parents. Not that it's a bad channel, but it's not your channel, right? So then we go the other way. Okay, what's over here? Well, I've been in this frequency, you would say. Okay, well, that's my ex-husband. And I could speak to that. That's me right now. Like that's maybe some fears that he put in me, or that was his beliefs about certain people and things, or that was his limitations that he inadvertently put on me. Okay, well, am I still tuned into that? Am I still tuned into that? What happens when I consolidate and I streamline and I focus on my one channel, my frequency? I'll tell you what fucking happens. It's amazing. What happens is we start to feel crystal clear on who we are. We start to become less apologetic because we're apologetic because we're tuned into the frequencies of who we think we should be according to all these other people. When we're just us and we're referencing just us as that point of empowerment inside of you, that locus of power, it's not that we don't care about other people, but we're no longer using their opinions of us to live our lives and to check in to see if we're doing it right. We're no longer using other people's ideas of us and their frequency of how they're living their life to determine whether we're living our lives the correct way. Does that make sense? We do that too much. And I know why you do it. And I still am in the process of recovering. I'm recovering from other people's frequencies. And who knows, I might be for the rest of my life. But what is happening and what I'm happy to report is that as you practice this, it gets easier. And my frequency is getting louder and louder and clearer. If you've been following along with me for some time, you probably have seen this, right? You're sensing the next shift. You're seeing it in my branding. You're seeing how I'm showing up on social media. You're seeing the change in the diamond frequency because my diamond frequency is finally getting a voice. It's finally has a seat at the table. It finally is the fucking table. Yeah? Did you feel that? Right? It is the table. And maybe, we've been sitting in a seat for a while, but it's time to actually become the table. This is important because most of us will go throughout our lives choosing jobs, choosing partners, choosing the place to live, choosing, how to invest our money, choosing which courses to invest in, which teachers we should be hanging out with, choosing our friends, choosing the sports club, choosing the banks that we put our money into, choosing the health clubs that we're members of. We choose our lives based on social media, based on commercials, based on the opinions of other people. And I say that, and you're probably like, yeah, and I know that already. Right, exactly. This is common knowledge, it's common practice. And it's so mundane and so widespread, we overlook it all the time. But what happens directly is that you live other people's lives. You live other people's lives. Oh, shoot. I just smashed my chin into this mic. Sorry, guys. You live other people's lives. That's a problem, yeah? Because you're an autonomous, beautiful, divine, sovereign being. And you are intelligent. And you are sovereign. And you are smart. And you are powerful. You are wise. So, are you going to start to reference yourself finally? Now that we've called that out. When you do, Yes, you shake things up a little bit. Yes, it feels uncomfortable because it's new. It's new, you referencing yourself before anyone else. But it is so critical and it's so important. This is what makes all the difference between you actually living the life the way you want to, having the life, the experiences, the partners, the friendships, the money, everything the way you want to, the way you want to experience life, versus having it through someone else's lens, someone else's flavor. So many people go to the grave living life on someone else's frequency. I've seen it happen. I am old enough now where people around me have died. And as sad as that is, I'm also just like, it's like it's true. It's just true. And I've witnessed enough, even people around me that are older than me by 10, 20, 30 years. I hear about the regrets if they have them. And they really wish they woke up to their own, what I say, diamond frequency before it's too late. So this is the larger reason why this work is so important and so critical, is that your time on this planet is finite. And how do you want to live this? Moving through the frequency of someone else's channel or moving through your own? Because the work that I do inside a diamond frequency, it doesn't just like, okay, boom, we're going to decide my channel, my frequency, go. Because if we just launch into it and never create the context on how to hold it, never create the practices to hold it, you won't hold it. And you're going to go right back into other frequencies because that's all we know and that's what's comfortable. Does that make sense? So, the other reason this is important is when it comes to manifesting. Manifesting is about how you want to feel. And when you look at your life around you right now, everything around you from, you know, your clothing to your laptop to your phone to the people around you to the decorations on the wall to the money in your bank account, all are here because of past actions. You bought this phone or this camera, whatever you're watching or listening this to, you bought that in the past. Whatever clothing you're wearing, you bought that in the past. You ever look inside of your closet and go, who the hell bought that? You know, it's like an old version of you loved that type of fashion and it's no longer true. That's not you. So we see it in our clothing, yet we don't really expect it in our frequency and in our actions. We update our clothing in our closets, but we never really update what we believe is possible for us. We update our vehicles because they're getting old and they're run down and it's time for a new vibe or it's time for a new energy or it's time for this or that. But we never update our thinking and our actions. Which one do you think is more important? Which one do you think is going to get you the most happiness the quickest? Which one do you think is going to get you the most authenticity in your life the quickest? So we've really got to do this work. We've got to start looking at which version of you is playing out right now. We will see this creep into choices a lot. I work through this a lot in my world as being an online coach and selling products. Sometimes when I'm selling, but also when I'm buying, like let's say one of the beautiful women that I love to learn from are selling a new product or selling a new course. When I see the price, and sometimes I get shocked, I know it's older Kim looking at that energetic price tag. I know that because she would get shocked because older Kim didn't quite realize that the price tag, as Jenna Black says, is in service of me. So in other words, Kim from the past and even Kim now current Kim sometimes really needs to check her money story. Am I thinking this price is too high because, oh, who is she to charge that much? Or am I thinking this price tag is too high because who am I to be in that room with people who have that much money? Who am I to be in that room with people who value themselves that much, who will spend that money, who will move mountains to make it work? You see what I'm saying? Versus future Kim, she has a lot of wealth moving through her. She has a lot of financial stability. Her money story is healing and healed. and being able to not only afford expensive, very valuable courses with the mentors of her dreams is possible, but it's also possible because I circulate that amount of money through my business. And this is also the discussion we get to have inside of the upcoming Diamond Frequency container is what is your money story and how is that showing up in your prices? How is that showing up in your offers? Because it is. How is that showing up in your branding and your messaging? Because it is. And your clients feel that. So when we up level our energetics around money, for example, just one powerful example, we start to call in the higher frequency of us because she can afford it. It's not even a question. The future you can afford it. The future you understands the value of that. The future you who runs her business like a CEO understands that that is needed to further the education of her business. And she needs that to perhaps learn a new soul skill that will attract the next soul client. So you're making moves from that place instead of the old version of you. Another example is with love and relationships. I recently had a client reach out to me about this, and we were talking, and she's like, I'm really interested in someone, but I'm not sure if they're the person for me. I really like them. Can you manifest love? Can you manifest relationships? Should you manifest love? Like, of course you should manifest love. It's like I've done that with Brandon. I made a list of like everything that I absolutely desire in the perfect partner and things I would no longer compromise in. And he showed up. Brandon showed up in my life. Exactly what I asked for. And you get to do that too. You get to be explicit. You get to be clear on who you want in your life with friends as well, not just romantic relationships, but friendships as well. And I think it's very important to get clear on how you want to feel in your relationships. Now, in context to this discussion of which frequency are you being in right now? Which frequency of you is running the show? When you make that list of what you desire in your perfect partner, who is making that list? Get where I'm going? Is this old version of you who's been through a couple relationships and man, they were zingers, broke my heart, this one cheated? Are you making that list from that person? Are you making that list from the now version of you who maybe isn't in a relationship and is a little lonely? If you're lonely, that's okay. But are you letting that be the frequency that helps you create that list? Because what you have intentionally, energetically in your body is what gets reflected and attracted back to you. You're going to think a certain way because you're lonely. You're going to be a certain way because you're lonely. Just like you're going to be and think and act a certain way when you're pissed off, or think and be and act a certain way when you're happy. Loneliness factors in there. It can come across as needy. It can come across as desperation. We end up compromising what's really important to us. The things we said we never make room for before in a relationship suddenly become, okay, I guess I could deal with that again because I'm lonely. So are you looking for your perfect partner from your now space? Or are you doing that work every day to get yourself into that next frequency? So let's talk about the solution to all this. Like, we'll stay in the context of creating manifesting your perfect partner. What it really comes down to is, are you doing the spiritual steps? Are you doing the energetic work? Are you doing the embodiment work, namely? Because if you're not, you're going to be consistently manifesting, creating, acting, and believing from the current paradigm, the current story you're in. And if you're not sure what your current story is in, open your fucking eyes. Look around you. Everything around you right now is a printout. It's a readout. Those aren't my words. I forget who else said it. It's a printout. Like, right? Like, go to your desktop and you hit print. That your life right now, who you hang out with, your happiness levels, your income levels, your house and everything that's in it, and this all a printout of past you And if current you is making decisions from what you currently see around you, you're recycling the past. I'm going to say that again to make sure that lands. If current you, right now you, is making decisions on her business, on her love life, on her friendships, on her investments, whatever it may be, your career choices, from what you currently have and how you currently are and the way you currently think, you're actually making decisions from your past self and you're recycling your past. Because remember, everything you are is a product. It's the summation, it's the adding up of all of your past actions, which became habits. Habits become your personality. Personality becomes your behavior. Behavior and the way of thinking becomes your reality. You guys know this, but it's like we just got to break it down to really understand, wow, that means if you really want to start that soul powered business, if you really want to start to free yourself from that really toxic relationship or friendship, if you really want to express that you want that promotion or that raise at work, if you really want to level up your parenting game, and just be a better spouse or be a better parent or be a better kid or be a better friend, if you want to just be a better person, you can't do it with the current you. Otherwise, you'd be doing it already. This is what athletes know about themselves. This is why they hire a fucking coach, right? They know, hey, I got to get an Olympic gold medal. Ain't gonna happen with the little legs I have now and the little calves I have, speaking about myself. It's not gonna happen with my flexibility. It's not gonna happen with the mental game I have up here. I need someone to push me. This is why I hired a coach, an empowerment coach back in the day. That's why other women hire me. That's why anyone hires a coach of any degree. It's because you need someone who can see your blind spots and point them out and go, there. You're not going there and you need to. Or there, that's what you're blocking and you can do that. And you'll go, no, I can't. And they'll go, you're thinking right now about it from the current you. Current you's never experienced that type of love before. Why would it believe it can have it? It's no evidence around you that's possible. The current you doesn't know, can't believe you can make 15,000 a year in income in your business. Not 15,000 a month, 10,000 a month, 5,000 a month in your business because you don't have evidence of it. So why would you believe it? This is where we have to override the mind through the frequency of our heart, through the frequency of our gut, for the frequency of I know I can attitude, which comes from embodiment practices. It comes from being in a spiritual community. All of these things will bolster and give you evidence that what you can, what you desire is for you and you can do it. And it's safe to want it and it's safe to go for it. But we have to ask, which version of me am I being right now? Which version of me is saying, yes, I want this, and no, I don't want that? Which version of me is afraid? Which version of me is stepping forward? Which version of me is sitting down? Which version of me is quiet? Which version of me is doing it? Is it future me? Then fuck yes. You're on the right page. Because she knows. She's been there. She's already done it. It's already a part of her reality. So of course she would just operate like this. Of course she would invest her money like that. Of course she would go ahead and buy that. Of course she would not have time for that anymore. Of course she'd be hanging out with those people. Like you wouldn't even think twice. But we often think it is our now reality that will control the show, that will be a predictor of what's to come. It will if you keep your current thinking the same, your current actions the same, your current beliefs the same. This is where we have to time travel a little bit and go into the future through the desire we have. What do you desire? That's you. That's your frequency. Just as much as the past is your frequency in you and your now is your frequency in you, your future is you. Remember last week's episode about how the universe wants to co-create through you. So the things you're seeing, the ideas you have for the future, They're meant for you because you have the tools inside of you to bring it out. You already come prepackaged with the tools and the DNA and the know how to bring that out. So knowing that, it's also coming to you from the future. So the future you is the one that's doing it. Therefore, we have to think like her. We have to act like her. And then what happens is you slowly close the gap. So if you're listening to this right now, I'm holding two fingers up and I'm bringing them closer and closer together. I like to talk through the gestures so you guys know, but you're closing that gap, closing the gap. In MMM, it's called the identity ascension, or closing that identity chasm between, man, I'm over here in my now self. And sometimes I'm even slipping back into my old self. And my new self, she seems so glammed up. She seems so badass. She seems so on top of it. But here I am. And we could actually experience this huge rift between where we are and where we want to go. And it can be a little disheartening. So it really comes back to one, being gentle with yourself and trusting your timing. And then two, believing it. Believing it's possible for you. That's what's going to override the naysaying mind that comes on in, that really says, believe the gap's there. Body says, there's no gap. I'm her right now. No. Mind says, believe that gap. It's actually going to take a lot of work. It's actually going to take a lot of skill. It's actually going to take you're going to fail a lot. Body goes, no, there's no such thing as time. We're already her, capital H, right now. And that is what I choose to believe. I don't know about you. When I believe I'm her, I act like her right away. And instantly, I close that gap. When you're her, your future self, you act like her. What would you do from that energy? What action could you take today from that energy? Boom. Gap closed. No gap. What gap? So we get to play and experiment and enjoy this new energy of being her, this future timeline, this future frequency right now in the moment. So when you tap into her, when you get creative juices flowing and you can feel your future desires and you can feel that imagination bubbling up and you're living in that world, what I want you to do is ask yourself, now that this is true, what would I do? Now that this reality is true, what's the one action I would take today? And it can be something very small. You don't have to go out and change the world. Small action as her. Next day, small action as her. And after 2 weeks, you've accumulated a lot of small actions. And guess what? In the world, in the reality of the things, 2 weeks of small actions is huge. It's huge. So don't underestimate those small actions. They really add up. I hope this episode really gives you perspective on thinking about that really important question of who's running the show? Which frequency am I in? Am I in someone else's frequency? Is this not even mine? Clear it out. Let it go. And inside of Diamond Frequency, we talk all about, and I teach you and you'll learn, clearing energy so that we can get rid of what isn't ours and start to embrace what is ours. We could clean up, sift through the energy that's stuck in our bodies. And the yoga world, we call these granthis or knots, energetic knots. Sometimes the knots are not our own. So we got to get rid of that. Okay, so we do that inside of the Diamond Frequency. So whose frequency is this? And also, okay, if it's mine, which version of me is this? Is this 10-year-old Kim? 20-year-old Kim? Or is this 70-year-old Kim? What's that bitch doing? Right? I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'd love to hear your biggest takeaways and what you're going to do to continue to check into that energy. It's really a simple question. It really is. What energy is this? Whose energy? Is this mine? Okay, which version of me? And start to make decisions and trust that that's safe. It's safe to make decisions as your future self, that future frequency, because it's already you. We can't block ourselves. It's happening anyhow. Your future is already on track. Your future is already happening. It's coming to you faster than you can realize. We know that. We have a future ahead of us. We know that. Now let's start to use what we know, and that is tap into that already. and be time bending. We wield time to our degree and take action now as her. And that's how you close that time gap. That's how you shrink time. That's how you bend time. That's also called the quantum leap. I talk about it in terms of MMM. It's a manifesting, quantum manifesting, which is the whole fourth month. We dive right inside of that, inside of MMM. So, all right, guys, I love you so much. And I can't wait to see you inside Diamond Frequency when the doors open if you're feeling called. But otherwise, I deeply hope that this episode serves you and really wakes you up to taking that autonomy back and your empowerment and living from your own frequency. I love you, and I'll see you next week.